Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to WhatsMap, your one-stop shop for everything workshop. I'm BonBonB and you're very, very welcome. Right, it's Friday. Friday's the day of the week. We hand the reins over to the BonBon buddies over on Patreon and we say, hey guys, vote us in a map. And they've gone with this one. Now, it was first spotted by myself when it was first released back in the early part of this year, but there wasn't time on the schedule to review it back then. So here we are now, several months later, and I'm glad we did. The thing is, though, this was a complete balls up at my end. Yes, it was. I found a little problem with the map and I reloaded the map 4 times over to make sure the problem was not me, because in the past it has been. It wasn't. I got on with the review and then, having recorded it and was ready for the upload, I found that there was a one-click collection and I was missing most of the assets. So I re-recorded it from scratch, special for you, which is why when you'll see how long this show took, it took as long as it did. But if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing right, don't you think? That's right, spending half your working day working on a map review is a really good way of consuming all of your free time. Don't be a map reviewer. Today's map is Mount Parraweena Coast by Mac. Now, we've done Mac once in the past, as long ago as episode 126. They got 13 stars on that occasion. Let's see how they cope today. There's your start square. It is based on Northern Australia, hence the darkness of the soil. I think it works quite well. The terrain heights are interesting. We have flat buildable space, flattish, inland, and a really rugged coastline. There is your resources, there's the word I'm looking for, and we have a fishing map that looks like this if you have Sunset Harbour. Let's head on over to the workshop and I'll show you this one-click collection, which was there all the time staring at me. Great thumbnail, by the way, really good screenshots as well. Requirements of Hide It, Namatjira, which is the theme, the Tides mod, and Daylight Classic. We'll be using Namatjira theme, which is made by Mac themselves, and the Relight 2 Natural. Now, at the top of the screen now, all the assets you'll need is very clear and very bold. I quite like that as a separate one-click collection at the top of the screen. Here's your one-click collection. It's long, okay? Animated sea foam, ferns, grasses there. We've got magnolias. We've got lady ferns, plant packs. We've got weeds by Pidelmo, traveller's palms, kangaroo paws, conforming this, river reeds that. Water lilies, hardwoods, we've got blue gum trees, we've got mangrove trees, we've got coral there, and then we come down, we're going to get into some brown grass patches there, and there's so much going on, so much. Unlimited tree mod, yes, I agree. And then we have dirt patches, decals. We have got elevated highways over roads, over brick walls, sorry, and so on. And even those basic slope profiles. So there's a lot to subscribe to. Except there isn't. Here's the requirement list. This is the actual requirement list from the loading screen mod. And it is longish, but it's not anywhere near as long. Notice all the things that are missing, like those elevated roads over walls. Having said that, if we scroll back to the top of this list, you'll see there are actually some things missing off of the collection as well. I subscribed to everything on the collection and still these little items here were missing. So we'll be doing the review without those items because I'm not reloading for the 22nd time. That said, I still think it looks okay. It certainly does look okay. How much difference would the extra foliage make? One will never know. But yes, a one-click collection that contains a whole bunch. I don't know, it's about 130 items long, and half of them are not needed for the map. Yes, they're lovely items. Oh, first intersection. It's not really an intersection. It's kind of a loop back to help traffic get back off of the system, which is fine, which is nice. Do we need it? Arguable. But what we do have over here is a little bit of very striking blue mantle. There it is underneath there. So yes, I think the section right there should have been elevated, but I think it's elevated at ground level, and we do have a bit of glitching because of it. So yes, Mac has got a very hard act to follow. With that 13 stops, it twofold bay, I think the map was his. I'm assuming his. Mac sounds like a guy. If you're a gal, I take it completely back. Yes, intersection here. This is actually a start square intersection. Looks a bit like a bow and arrow, doesn't it? I like that. Very cleanly done. So yes, 13 stars, which was 5 for aesthetics, and then 4 for detail and 4 for gameplay potential. Those are the standards we are chasing today. Tiny little bit jinky janky right there, just a hint. Not so bad though, not so bad. I mean, it was a real stretch for me to call that a jinky janky. It was very almost only just a jinky. Oh dear, where has my life gone to? Anyway, so I've actually done the voiceover for this once already, so there are going to be things here that won't surprise me. And we've got an elevated highway ramp there at ground level again, and causing little bits like here. We've got a little bit of a shark's tooth going on there. But let me praise one thing. The one thing that actually impressed me with this map wasn't actually the map, it was the theme. Again, made by Mac. I quite like this theme. It's oh, hang on, I've got to talk about this as well. We'll talk about this before we go any further. This feels a bit floaty. Does look like it needs a pillar in the middle, and probably just separating up the highways a little bit, given the location of the node in the middle of the highway there. I reckon that a pillar would appear. So yeah, might just need an extra pillar in there. Ooh, excuse me, where did that come from? So yes, we have a really lovely theme. There are a lot of themes are very samey even, very samey. Like the nice green pasture type themes, and you get some with like really dramatic cliffs and stuff. Then you get themes that are just a little bit different, like with the dark soils like we have here. And I think it really does work a treat. It's very, and also like the trees are very striking against it without being completely unnatural. And I just think it's a really good combination. So all of the credit for that. Highway goes down this way. There is one highway on this map. It goes from one side of the map to the other. There's no jaunts off with third and fourth connections. I don't think it absolutely needs any more connections than it's got. I think it certainly works really well with the map, and it takes the routes that I feel is believable, and certainly works for the map. A little crossover of the river here. You may notice we've got some drowned trees down here. Yes, they've got their trunks on. Yes, they have. So yes, you'll spot some issues with rivers today. And actually, my first thought, it's slightly encroaching foliage, but it's not too bad there. Yeah, my first thought when I saw the problems with the rivers was that it was being caused by the tides mod. Yeah, regulars to the show will know we had tideskate or what's going on here. What is with this gravel? I mean, I understand riverbed detailing, but that just seems a bit odd, bit strange that. But never mind. We won't come back and look at that. We'll just we'll look at rivers later. Anyway, through the tunnel, and then we've got a few of these little intersections plopped down. I quite like these intersections. I think they've been quite neatly done. In fact, there's even a little bit of palm tree detailing, which I think just adds a little bit to it, which is always a nice thing. This road will bend around the bay and join up right on the edge of the map around the corner there, and the rail does very similar. So I think we'll just jump over onto the rail line from here. So yes, the tides mod. On the original review, I loaded the map with the tides mod and without the tides mod, and then with the tides mod again, because I was a bit concerned about the problems with the rivers. A little bit of blue mantle up ahead, actually. Let's have a quick look at this. Barely noticeable, but when you pull back, it renders in completely differently. It's actually worse from a distance, that is. But anyway, yes. So yeah, I was concerned that the rivers, people will remember tide skates, yes. I don't want that to happen again. So I spent quite some time loading and reloading the map, both with and without the tides mod. And the problems with the rivers are not actually caused by the mod. Now, I quite like the idea of tides on this map, although I don't feel it actually really adds anything to the map. Because of the way that the map is done, where we've got the buildable space is a little bit inland, and then you've got the mountain and the rugged coastlines. Those the high and low tides, there's going to be very few places where you're actually going to really see it with your city build. So for me, I don't really feel that Tides mod adds much. Now, you could decide whether you want it as a high tide or a low tide, but having Tides mod on here is, I don't know, it's a little bit of a loss. I'd certainly suggest that high tide because, again, second half of the show, you're going to see low tide. I think aesthetically there are some really nice visuals with low tide, but then there are more problems with the rivers, as you will see. Oh dear. And it's a shame because I really, when I saw that the tide, a little bit of catenary chaos going on there. When I saw that the Tides mod was a suggestion, there are very few maps that take advantage of the Tides mod. Yes, of course, mine is probably the best one. Shh. Yeah, okay, in my own opinion. Okay. Yeah, there are very few, which means I don't have much competition. Therefore, I'm definitely one of the top dozen because there's probably only a dozen anyway. Anyway, so this particular one, it's almost really, really good for the Tides mod. It's almost, it's fine. There are plenty of other advantages of this map. It's not just about the tides, okay? We've got a really good aesthetic going on. If you want to do a North Australian build, I think this is probably a pretty good one. So it's a challenging terrain. It's not very flat. So if you're looking to play on a challenging map, this could be it. And the highways and the rail look pretty reasonable as well, apart from a little bit of terrain glitching around there, which can easily be smoothed out with the smoothing tool. So I say there's a lot going on with today's map. Let's have a look at more of it after this.
Are you struggling with water physics in the game? Are you constantly drowning and flooding your soggy little sins? Then you need the Beginner's Guide to Water Physics by BonBonB. Click the information button now.
And so back to Mount Parraweena Coast by Mac and the shipping routes. Well, we can see we have an air route as well, of course. Always look at the shipping routes because air routes are a little bit, well, boring generally. Not too much to say. Shipping route does loop around a little bit without hitting any of these sandbanks, which is quite neat. And then it doubles back on itself here, and I could have done without that. So anyway, yeah, the shipping route is fine. It's fine. You're going to have ships going around your coast and looping back. But that is okay. Water flow, there's little problems. Okay, if you need a strong working river system, we don't have that today, I'm afraid. I wish we did. I truly wish we did, because this map does have a really nice vibe to it. And it is let down by, you can see, we have a very weak, almost stop-start rivers going on there. And that holds the map back both as in terms of gameplay and visually as well. Because visually, it looks really splendid. Look at this from up here. This is almost photo-real, isn't it? And then we have that mountain is a really striking mountain. Love the tree painting on the mountain as well. We'll probably have a look at that in a moment. And we've got all these little rivers going on. And all of them struggle. All of them struggle. I do have that tutorial, the Realistic Rivers tutorial. And of course, I've linked in the... and plenty of drowned trees as well, with the trunks on. So yes, and I've linked in the water physics tutorial as well. But yes, the rivers need a bit more work on them. Pretty much all of them. Well, they've got great shape, and there's a lot to like. They're just a bit broken. Elevated highway ramp bridge going on here. Not sure what's going on with that, whether that's an idea that Mac has had, and I think that looks quite nice. Not sure where it's coming from or where it's going to, mind you. Tree painting, there you go, into the valleys. The tree painting locations is quite neat on this. Liking all of that, and a really good mix of trees as well. Then we have slightly pixelated mud banks. Probably just needs a slight brush of the smoothing tool just to take out some of the pixelization on these mud banks. This is a high tide, and it looks yeah, just a little bit unfinished, I think. Then down here we have a little waterfall with the water coming off the mountain. A little bit fantasy, this waterfall coming off of the mountain. I don't feel that we'd be seeing that in real life like that, but it's I like the tree painting around it as well, showing that there is life being brought to that part of the mountain because of the river. This is your low tide, and again, does it look quite interesting? It certainly does. These mud flats, as the tide goes out, look really nice, but the rivers struggle to reach the sea. I've let this run for a little while, and the water is there just isn't the weight to get down into the sea, and you can see that there isn't actually going to be the weight. Let me just give this a few moments to try and get down there, but you can see on the left there we have the stop start, and they're just like dribbles and dribbles and dribbles. So yes, for the tides mod, we just haven't got the water flow to provide that. And again, that is a shame. It really is. It really is a shame, because this looks amazing until you get to here, and then you have no river. And this is your main river. This is your start square river. Well, the river mouth from where the water comes through the start square. It's so disappointing, especially after Mac's first map, which completely blew me away. Let's stick those lines of terrain on, and I can show you how undulating this start square is. So it's a little bit challenging to build on. If you want a challenging map with hills, this is definitely there for you. So there it is, that going for it. Oh, sorry, came out of that mode a little bit too quick. Wanted to do... Come on. There you go. Hotkeys. Struggling with the hotkeys. Right, and I managed to pause the game at the same time as well. Right, we are back rolling again. Action. Speaking of action, we have an action-packed asset of the day. I want to say action-packed, I mean... well, slightly grubby looking office building, and I mean that as a positive, because it is grubby looking. Look at this, typical 1980s style. Let's build it with concrete, and then the concrete starts crumbling away after 30-40 years. How many years is it since the 80s? Love this, RyanCat, absolutely love it. More from you, please, because we need more buildings just like this on the workshop. The 80s Offices A is the name of the building, which means there might be an 80s Offices B coming along. And factoids, because factoids. Who wants a factoid? The ordinary housefly beats its wings nearly 200 times a second. Unless it comes somewhere near me and I have a rolled up newspaper, in which case it doesn't beat its wings at all. Nasty little things. Yes. So we have the 80s Offices A by RyanCat. That for me is a proper asset. We need more of that. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you. And so towards the end of the show, as my voice is starting to croak away with my asthma's biting in right at the very end. I will make it to the end. I'll try and do it without coughing. Your chance to vote on the map. Is it a 1-star map? Is it a 5-star map? Is it somewhere in between? Your vote really does count. We use it at the end of the month for the Viewer's Choice Top 10. Will this be one of the top 10 maps of the month? Only you can decide. Hit the I button now in the top right corner of your screen, and you can vote for free. You don't get to do much for free these days, you know. So let's see your voting. But what do I think of today's map? Well, aesthetically, I think it's very striking. I think it falls short of being 4 stars, though. I think the amount of assets to subscribe to doesn't really translate into the full glory that I wanted it to be. So I'm going to go for a high 3 stars because it is nice. It's just not, for me, superb. So I'm going to give it a high 3. I think it deserves it. Detailing, there's bits of work to do, and the rivers, of course, but there's bits of work to do throughout the map. I think it actually falls short of 3 stars. Not by too much, though. I'm going to give it a medium-high 2. Gameplay potential, I would mark this quite a lot higher, but when you've got broken rivers and they are kind of key to your start square, there's your problem. I'm going to go 2. I'm going to go high 2 because I think it's a very playable map once the rivers are fixed. Mount Parraweena Coast by Mac. I wanted another 13-star map or more from Mac, and that's got a lot of potential. But yes, that collection needs to be thinned out, needs to have everything that isn't actually in the map taken away, because that's going to put a lot of people off subscribing to the map. I mean, 130 items, and I think 60 is probably how many is actually needed. Thanks very much for watching, for commenting, for liking and for subscribing. If you're still here, you're part of the 20 and out elite. Use the word of the day into the comments to score yourself some population points just for fun, and I'll be back tomorrow with another What map. Thanks for watching.